What is good, you guys? Welcome back to the Report. Welcome back to a brand new video. In today's video, we're going to be grading the Miami Heat's offseason. This was actually the first video on my channel when I formed it, and we did this for the last offseason. So we're going to be continuing the tradition and doing it for this offseason as well, because the offseason is basically over. NBA preseason, I think, starts in a month or so. So we do have basketball coming up very soon. I'm going to be obviously previewing and reacting to every game, when even preseason, all that stuff. So make sure you guys subscribe, like the video, and also leave a comment down below as to whether you guys agree with my grades, future video ideas, questions. I do have a question that I saw from my old Q&A box that the discussion post that I uploaded on YouTube. I do have a new question that I have to answer, because I did see a question today, and if you guys have any questions that you want me to answer, please drop them in the comment section down below, wherever. Follow my Twitter. If you guys have a question, hit me up there as well. You guys know what to do, man. We are only 20 subscribers away from, I'm pretty sure, 1,400. So let's get to that mark as soon as possible. You guys know what to do. Before we get into the grades, I'm going to answer the question that was asked of me, and this comes from Ken. Now, Ken asked, excluding D Wade, if you could bring any retired player, Heat player, back to play with this roster, who would it be? And he gave some examples such as Glenn Rice and Alonzo Mourning. Now, I did think about this a little bit, because I just don't want to give out, a player like, Alonzo, Shaq. Like, I don't want to give out a player without, thinking and giving my rationale. I want this player to like make sense. So I'm probably gonna go, after thinking about this for a couple minutes before this video, I'm probably going to go with Chris Bosh. And, Chris Bosh obviously retired early due to blood clots, unfortunately. But I do think that Chris Bosh would be the perfect player in the system. We do really lack a quality power forward. I like the PJ Tucker pickup, but he's getting up there in age. And, he's definitely not the same player he was in the past. Although his defense is very good, shooting numbers have decreased since the Houston days. And I think Chris Bosh should be an elite player to play alongside Bam in the front court. The rim protection would be absolutely scary. Chris Bosh can guard 4s and 5s sometimes. And you have Bam, who can also do the same things. And Chris Bosh, I think, was ahead of his time, because he was probably the first non-European player to start stretching the floor as a big man. Like he was a guy who really made it popular. I know Dirk and Yao and people like that really pioneered it, but guys like Chris Bosh were really the first non-foreign players to do that as well. So I think Chris Bosh is a guy that would fit extremely well in today's NBA. D Wade said it himself on a podcast that he thinks Bosh would have been elite in today's NBA. I 100% agree with him. Like, he was a face-up player. He was not, back to the basket player, but he was very athletic. He had big shots. Like, whenever D Wade and LeBron didn't play, like, Bosh was always doing his thing. I remember there was a game against San Antonio where he had a game winner when D Wade and LeBron didn't play. So I would definitely put Bosh up there as my choice. Glenn Rice might not be a bad pick, because he can he can score the ball. He's another scorer. But I would probably use Bosh as my player from Heat history who are retired to bring back and play with this roster. So hopefully that answers your question, my guy. But great question. Absolute amazing question. So let's get into the grades now. So basically what we're going to be grading every acquisition, trades, free agency, and the players we re-signed. I'm also going to briefly talk about the outgoings, guys that we lost, and what their impact, would if their impact will be missed to this team, because there were some significant losses if you ask some Heat fans. So let's get right into the acquisitions that we got. So the main one obviously is Kyle Lowry in a sign and trade deal that sent away Goran and Precious Achiuwa to the Toronto Raptors. Now I would give the Kyle Lowry pickup an A. I think that Kyle Lowry, we needed a big fish, and Kyle Lowry was one of the biggest fishes in free agency. Apart from Kawhi Leonard and Chris Paul, I think he was probably the third best player in free agency. And we got a top 3 player in this free agency class. We did everything we were supposed to do. We attracted a big fish in free agency. Now, people will say, why didn't we sign him outright? Why did we have to sign and trade for him? Why didn't we stay over the cap? Why did we go under the cap? Now, the reason we did all that is, number one, if we were to sign Kyle Lowry outright, we would not have the cap space for bringing back Duncan Robinson. So I think that was a big reason why, because Duncan Robinson was someone that obviously the Heat wanted to bring back, and they couldn't do that. Duncan Robinson is worth about 18 to 20 mil. They couldn't bring him back and also sign Kyle Lowry outright without giving up other assets. So that's why they went under the cap, and that's why they accepted Goran's player option, because they needed to send something back to make the salary work. And Goran's 20 million, I'm pretty sure, was close enough. And then obviously they added Precious in as like a sweetener to the deal for Toronto, because obviously they have to accept the deal. Goran for Kyle is not going to be accepted by them. And I think this was a W. People will have seen Precious play in Summer League and they'll be like, oh, we shouldn't have traded him, blah, blah, blah. But I just think that he didn't fit the timeline whatsoever. Like, when we drafted him, I was excited, but with the way I saw Spo use him, I just knew he wasn't really going to get the playing time, because he wasn't, shooting the ball. He was kind of just like a role big who was just rim running and rebounding, playing defense. That's basically what he was asked to do. And we already have a guy in Bam Adebayo who is, a star-studded center, and Precious was never going to be used as a power forward in this Heat system. So Precious was bound to be traded. I'm glad that, if you look at it in the sense that at the trade deadline before, the Raptors, when we were very close to getting Lowry, the Raptors were asking for Duncan and Tyler, and we didn't have to give up any of them. We ended up keeping Duncan and Tyler and only gave up Goran, who's going to be a loss, but I don't think Goran was as good last season, like, whatsoever. He missed time, he was injured, he just didn't really look right. And then Precious had a rusty rookie season. I still think Precious will be a good player, but he just doesn't fit the timeline. So I'd give the Lowry deal an A. PJ Tucker, I'm gonna give an A minus. The only reason it's not higher than that is because I think the contract is a little bit excessive for a guy like PJ Tucker, who's already 36, about to turn 37. Like, that's a lot of money. He's probably gonna be making like $9 million when he's 38. But I think PJ Tucker is a very valuable player. Obviously not the same player he was before, but defensively he still has it. And then, if he can knock down corner threes and just fill that Jay Crowder void that we haven't really been able to replace, then it's a very good pickup for us. So I would definitely give PJ Tucker at least an A minus, B plus, A minus, somewhere in that range for sure. And then for Markieff Morris, I'm gonna give a B plus too, just because I think there were better options at power forward, at the backup power forward position. But Markieff Morris, I don't think is a bad player. I just think he had a bad season last year. He was definitely knocking down threes against us in the finals, though. I remember, I'm pretty sure it was game 5, like when Jimmy Butler had like a crazy game. Markieff was actually like knocking down some threes. So if he can just be a stretch four and just play physical, I think this is a solid pickup. I just think there were better power forward options. But yeah, we'll keep it simple for Markieff. He wasn't like the main attraction of free agency. As far as people who we re-signed back, obviously Jimmy Butler, we got on a max extension. I'm gonna give this an A minus, and the only reason it's not an A is because I think $50 million on the last year is a little bit excessive. I know Jimmy's like amazing, but like that's still like a lot for a guy who's gonna be 36 by then. But at the same time, I do like the extension because it kind of just sends a message that we're going all in during his time with the Heat, and we're just catering towards his timeline, and we don't really care about young assets. We do, but like it's not our priority. So this also sends a message to young guys like Tyler, like you could be traded in any instant if you're not playing well, because we're catering towards Jimmy's timeline. So I like that the team picked a direction and wasn't really stuck in a purgatory of catering towards young players or players who are ready to win now. So I'm gonna give Jimmy's max extension an A minus. Duncan Robinson, I'm gonna give this an A. The re-signing of him, we got him back on $18 million a year, I'm pretty sure. People were talking about his market value being 23 the week before. So I think 18 million is very worth it for him. People just have to understand that shooters are always going to be getting paid around that same realm. I came up with this theory last year when Joe Harris got paid the same amount, and then Tim Hardaway Jr. got paid the same amount, and then Duncan Robinson, Evan Fournier got paid. I know Evan Fournier can do a little bit more than shoot, but guys who can basically shoot the ball are going to be getting paid $18 million, somewhere in that realm, who are elite knockdown shooters. So don't be surprised if like Seth Curry gets the same deal. Like, don't be surprised. So Duncan Robinson, I think I like. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Duncan Robinson. Like, I think he's a very underrated piece to our offense. I think that he's a guy that is improving on the defensive end. I just think he has to get more physically stronger, and I think that he'll be good to handle like bigger wings. But I think his defensive IQ is already like really good, like hub defense and stuff like that. I think he's improving like a day by day. Shooting is, off the charts. We already know about that, but I just think his impact to this offense is unnoticed at times. Victor Oladipo, A+, man. I'm gonna give this an A+, my first A+. I think this was an absolute steal. I know he's injured, but from the looks of it, he's making great progress according to what his doctors have been saying, or his doctor's been saying. He could come back sooner than expected, earliest by December, which is really, really good news. I think that Victor Oladipo, it was like such a low risk, high reward thing that paying a guy a minimum, if it doesn't work out, you're not really wasting money. You're just paying him a minimum, and it's only a 1-year deal. So, and if he does pan out, then you have a guy he's going to be playing above what his contract value was when he signed with us, which was minimum. So I think if he can just come back and just be a solid player, he doesn't have to be an all-star, just be a solid player. I think he'll already be a steal. Just the fact that we paid a minimum is crazy to me. So I love it. A+ for sure. And then Dwayne Dedmon, A. Like, I just, he's the perfect backup center to have. He really, really caught people by surprise last year. I don't know if he'll have like the same, minutes because he was a little bit fresher. That's because, and that's why he was really, really good, because he didn't really have to play basketball before he came to the Heat. He was just kind of just sitting on the couch, which is a good and a bad thing because you're fresh, but you might be rusty at the same time. But I just think he's the ideal backup center to have to Bam, and for this 1 year, which is what we signed him on, I think it's a good deal. Obviously, we did bring in guys like Yurtseven, Max Strus, Gabe Vincent, the guys who weren't really in the rotation last year, and then signed in Marcus Garrett on a two-way, full guaranteed two-way, and DJ Stewart on a training camp deal. So those are all good pickups. As a whole, I'm probably just gonna grade all of them together as an A. Like Max Strus and Gabe Vincent, we just brought them back on standard, like very small amount of money deals. Yurtseven, we were begging on re-signing him back, and we re-signed him back. And then Marcus Garrett was someone we really, really, liked, and I'm glad we got him. I would have made this an A+ if we had gotten DeJon Jarreau, but I'm very, very disappointed he went to the Pacers. It will be interesting to see who the second two-way player is. I expect it to be either DJ Stewart's deal to be converted to a full-time two-way, or like I wouldn't be surprised if someone like RJ Nembhard, who's another guy who can score the ball, gets that deal as well. So we'll see what happens with that spot, but pretty standard as far as those end of the rotation guys. Now to come to the people who we lost. Obviously, we had a couple of more than a couple. We had like 6 losses. Kendrick Nunn, lost out in free agency. I didn't really talk about K Nunn. I kind of knew K Nunn was out the door, to be honest. Like, I didn't have any like inside sources or anything like that, but I just had a really good feeling that we weren't going to bring K Nunn back. Just didn't really make sense to me. We were going to go after a big fish in free agency, whether it was Lowry, DeRozan, Lonzo, Dinwiddie. Like, we were going to get one of these guys, if not trade for someone. And bringing back Duncan Robinson. And obviously I knew, from rumors that we were looking to extend Jimmy Butler. I just didn't think that we had the cap space to re-sign Kendrick Nunn back on what he wanted. Obviously, people were shocked that he took so less money to go to the Lakers, and Heat fans were disappointed that we made him a unrestricted free agent, where he could have probably taken $5 million to do the same with us. But I just don't think he would have taken the same money to re-sign back with us, because the Lakers, just let's be honest, like the Lakers and the Nets are the two favorites to win the championship. So we've seen so many guys just take pay cuts to get their free ring, and the Lakers and the Nets are better teams than us. Like, as of right now, on paper, they are. So I don't think he would have taken $5 million to come to us, because I don't think he views us as championship contenders as much as the Lakers are or the Nets are. So who knows? In the series, we might make some noise, but as far as right now on paper, the Lakers and the Nets are the two best teams in the NBA, and the Bucks are a close third. So I'm not, overly shocked A lot of players have been doing this, but hey, get your ring, man. You know, if he wins a ring, I guess it'll be worth it. That's why when people ask me like, whose rings would you rather have, KD's 2 or Giannis's 1? You know, 2 is greater than 1 at the end of the day. Like, I don't really care like how you did it. When you go on KD's Basketball Reference, ESPN, NBA.com, whatever history pages, books, it's all going to say that he has 2 rings, and you can't take that away from him. So I know it was kind of frustrating the manner which he did it in. He joined a stacked team after he lost to them, but he got his 2 rings, and you can't knock a person for getting their 2 rings. Like, you know, obviously he probably could have done it in a better way, but Kevin Durant is an incredible player. He's probably one of the most skilled players of all time, and at the end of the day, he has 2 rings. So if K-Nun wins a ring, then I guess his contract was worth it. Dragic and Precious, obviously I talked about them. I'm not going to talk about them too much again. You know, we had to give up something for Kyle Lowry, and I would have much rather have given up Dragic's $20 million contract rather than Hero or try to make some more money work, especially because Dragic is getting up there in age. Ariza and Iguodala, I kind of knew they were out of the door. Iguodala for sure, like I knew we were not accepting that $15 million player option or team option. Ariza, it was probably going to try to ring chase, which is what he did. He went to the Lakers. Bielitsa just did not work out. He kind of was just out of shape the whole time. So, and he was like dissing us when he signed with the Warriors. Like, okay, buddy, like cool. The Warriors are still not better than us. Like, I don't care what anyone says. I think the Heat are better than the Warriors because people are expecting Klay Thompson to come back and be this all-star again after coming off of like, I'm pretty sure 2 ACLs are on like both legs. So I don't think the Warriors will be better than the Heat. Like, I think the Warriors are going to be good, but it's going to take time for Klay Thompson to adjust. And if you're so confident that Klay Thompson is going to come back after being out for 2 years and do what he did in the past, then there's no reason why you shouldn't be confident that Victor Oladipo can do the same with the Heat. So keep that same energy. Apart from that, I don't think we lost anyone else. I did go through K-Nun, Precious, Goran, Iguodala, Bielitsa, Ariza. Yeah, those 6 are the people we lost. And apart from that, I think this was a very successful free agency, man. I think this was a good free agency. Obviously brought in a big fish, surrounded him with good pieces. You know, the bench for the until Victor comes back is going to be a little thin, but you do have minutes that you might stagger, play Lowry sometimes, play Jimmy sometimes with the bench unit, and then see how that goes. And then hopefully the two-way guys like Max Strus and Gabe Vincent from last year can step up. Hopefully KZ can show us something. Yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But hopefully when Victor comes back, he bolsters our bench unit. I don't think he'll start. I think he'll be the backup point guard. But overall, successful offseason in my opinion. Let me know how you guys thought it went, man. Let me know if you guys agree with my grades. I think my grades are fairly realistic, but just let me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section below. I'll see you guys later as always. Have a nice day. Peace.